Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. This is the regular meeting of the East Bay Regional Park District's Board of Directors on April 21st and starting at 1:02. I'm going to ask the clerk if she could please call the roll.
Yes, Madam President. Director Coffey,
Present.
Director Eccles,
Here.
Director Lane,
Here.
Director Rosario,
Here.
Director Waspy,
Here.
Director Wieskamp,
Here.
and President Corbett.
Thank you very much. Everybody's here. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're
Also,
welcome.
could you please do a roll of the staff that is with us today?
Yes, Madam President. Chief Chiobaro, Alice Kenner, Alan Love, General Manager Doyle, Sharon Clay, Brian Holt, Dave Mason, AGM Ocker, DGM Alvarez, Eric Fuller, Harold, our IT, Jim O'Connor, Jeff Rasmussen, Kip Walsh, Christina Kelchner, Lance Breed, Mary Mattingly, Mike Reeves, Naoma Laval, Steve Castile, Tiffany Margalisi, and those are the only names I see. I believe Dave Mason was on also. Have I missed anyone? Okay, that's it, Madam President.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. I'm not sure who I asked to do the Pledge of Allegiance last week. I've asked somebody 2 weeks in a row, please forgive me. But in honor of the recent birthday, we'll ask Director Waspy to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
Liberty and
justice for all.
Thank you very much, Director Waspy. So let's take a look. Well, let me make this comment first. Today's regular meeting is held in accordance with Governor Newsom's executive order allowing for board members to participate remotely. We're also providing live audio streaming and have provided the public the opportunity to submit written comments for our public comment period and to call in and leave a voice message as well. This information is on our agenda, and if anybody else would like to add on to that, they do still have the ability to email or call. And Madam Clerk, can I just please ask you again to give us the phone number and the email address in case there are members of the public who still want to comment at today's meeting?
Yes, the email address is ybarial, Y-B as in boy, A-R-I-A-L @ebparks.org. And the phone number for leaving messages is 510-544-2016.
All right. Do any members of the Board of Directors have any questions before we move on to approving the agenda about today's process? Everybody's good? All right. So the next item is the consent calendar. Madam Clerk, are there any questions that still need to be answered or items that need to be pulled on the consent calendar?
Madam President, we do need to approve the agenda.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
The agenda.
Sorry about that. All right, let's take a look at the regular agenda before we get to the consent calendar. Does anybody have any concern with today's agenda, or is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Director Wieskamp and seconded by
Second.
Director Eccles. Thank you very much. All those in favor, let's do a roll call of approving the agenda. Director Wieskamp,
Aye.
Director Lane,
Aye.
Director Coffey,
Aye.
Director Rosario,
Aye.
Director Waspy,
Aye.
Director Eccles,
Aye.
and President Ellen Corbett, aye. So that's unanimous adoption. All right. Let's see. We have approved the agenda, and we will now ask if there have been any public comments. Madam Clerk? Do you
Yes,
have
Madam.
report on the comments?
Yes, Madam President, we have had 18 public comments that were received before the deadline. We are currently still receiving them. They will be made a part of the record later on this evening. However, I believe District Council Victor is going to be summarizing the comments.
Okay, and how many did we receive?
18.
All right, thank you very much. So District Council Victor, can you please summarize the emails? And before you do that, I would just like to say again, I know we have many people listening today and probably many people who have also submitted remarks or public comments by email. I would like you all to know that the board received your comments, those that were sent in by the deadline last night, and even additional comments were even past the deadline were submitted to us. I know that board members were up late last night, making sure that they read all of the emails, and up early this morning to read those additional emails. And so please know that your comments have been read by the Board of Directors, and those that come in today will also be provided to us so we can make sure that we have the opportunity to get all your thoughts on what's going on with the Park District. So thank you very much for submitting your comments. So District Council, if you would like to go ahead and just give us a summary for now of the remarks, of the, excuse me, the public
yes.
comment.
Yes, Board President Corbett, Carol Victor, District Council. Director Corbett, I was going to summarize the general public comment, and then when the Mission Peak item comes up, there was a significant amount of comment on that item that can be read in
At that time.
conjunction with that
Oh, yeah.
item on the agenda. So there's 4 general emails, general public comment emails. The first is from Paul Nowacek. He's a Berkeley resident and a professor at UC Berkeley of Public Health. He states that studies have shown that joggers and bicyclists produce a long trail of aerosol mist that presents a risk on trails used by walkers. He's concerned about Inspiration Point with a high concentration of older, vulnerable walkers and joggers and cyclists. He's requesting that jogging and bicycling be limited to certain times, as is done in Paris. He says even a 2-hour window in the morning or afternoon would be enormously helpful to older and vulnerable walkers. He also states that bikers and walkers should be wearing masks. Lance Johnson states that if the board is using Mid-Peninsula as a justification for actions and decisions, such as parks remaining open and on restrooms and trash collection, that they should follow Mid-Peninsula's lead, which is Mid-Peninsula has closed restrooms, closed trails to bikes and horses due to increased accident, has closed preserves in San Mateo County on weekend, and has restricted certain single tracks to one-way travel. He is opposed to requiring trash collection and opening of the restrooms, due to the risk of virus and the message it sends to the public to come into the parks. He says that opening restrooms is not only foolish but negligent, and that the board and that people will live or die because of the decisions the board makes. Chris Newey, president of ASME 2428, asks why the Park District is planning to reopen restrooms, which will provide a location for exposure to the public and workforce when incidents of COVID-19 are still increasing. And the last public comment is from Robert Goldberg, a Lafayette resident, and he requests that signs be posted on the Lafayette-Moraga Trail strongly encouraging face masks on all users. He notes that the trail is heavily used and it is not always possible to maintain 6-foot distancing. He asks that we not wait for a county or state order to mandate face masks. And that's it for the general public comment for the meeting. Muted.
Thank you very much, District Council. And does the clerk have any additional comments at this
No,
time?
Madam President, and just to let you know, there were no calls on the, again, there were no calls on the phone number. And thank you, District Council, for breaking those emails out. Thanks.
Thank you all very much. All right, are all the board members still on the line? Yes, I see you all. Very good. All right. So we have a special update before the consent calendar. So I'd like to ask the general manager to give us the update on the status of the East Bay Regional Park District and our COVID-19 public health emergency. Mr. General Manager?
Thank you very much, President Corbett, members of the board, staff, and public listening in. This is our fourth meeting of the board, and I wanted to thank the board for all their time and effort and dealing with new technology, because we're really trying to continue to do our business and do our part to serve the public during this time. We mentioned before, and just to say it again, I think the overall recommendations on closing of parks during the Easter weekend was very successful, still very popular, and still areas with traffic problems and things like that. I think we're making progress in trying to keep our parks open, and those parks that were closed over Easter were reopened, except for the specific item of Mission Peak. So I really want to thank everybody from the field staff on up to the managers and senior management for getting those back open. We all have to do our part to help the public during this time, and it's a critical time for everyone and a challenging time. Just as a point of information, this is normally our busiest time of year. Many of our parks, if you remember, last year and the year before, when we had the Snow Wildflower Festival, which unfortunately has been postponed this year, we had cars all the way out down Gary Road and all the way to Calaveras, and we had to open up some temporary parking in some of the nursery parking lots and do shuttles. So this is our busy time of year. Whether we have people locked in place and wanting to get outside or not, it's the time of year. I thought a little bit of detail on kind of an average of May, which we're coming into. In May, we have as much as 25,000 people in our picnic areas during that month. We have 1,800 reservations for camping. So this is normal for that time of year, and that's an average over about the last 3 years. So this is our busy season. It's when people want to get out before it gets too hot and really use our parks. But right now, our picnic areas are closed. They're closed to all the public everywhere. Our visitor centers are obviously closed. Our swim facilities are obviously closed. And I think what's really helped us manage the park system now and be there for people when they need us has been our regional trail system. The ability to have so many public trails in the majority of communities, whether it's the urban communities along San Francisco Bay, the San Ramon Valley with the Iron Horse Trail, or the Delta de Anza Trail in East County, or the Contra Costa Canal Trail in central Contra Costa County. We have a system that's unique in the nation, and it is that system that has allowed us to be able to have enough in the portfolio to be able to close those crowded parks that we're really concerned about and don't have the resources to manage them at this time, but still keep the majority of the community having access to our parks. And I really want to thank the staff, particularly in the trail units, for really doing an extra job to try to manage those people. The reports we're getting back are a lot of really good social distancing, but still people who are gathering in some places, people that are crowded, people that where we have closed parking lots, they have crowded onto the streets, and that becomes a local street problem. And so we have to figure out better how to manage those issues as well. And the goal of the district and the goal of your general manager is to open those parks and those parking lots back up when we're given guidance and permission to do so. The health order is still in effect. And to be clear, the health order, both the first and second amendments to those health orders, encouraged people to stay locally, but to be able to get outside and walk in all the parks that are provided by the public, not just the regional parks, but local parks as well. And they've been really an important asset for staying healthy and still trying to manage in this bending the curve goal that we all have to get through this time. So I want to also thank the local parks who partnered with us, who sharing information and doing their part as well. I did want to mention that the issues that are really plaguing us right now in the parks is frankly the garbage pickup is really growing in volume of garbage. We have not been successful in getting the public to take home their dog business and to take home their wrappers and coffee cups and things like that. So it's mainly just small litter because we're not having big picnics. Normally, we would be emptying lots and lots of garbage cans at Lake Del Valle, at Shadow Cliffs, at Tilden Park, on South Park Drive. We're not doing that because we don't have those picnic areas open, but we are overflowing with areas of people's litter and dog droppings that they're not taking home in those parks that have been the trailheads. And so that's particularly an issue, is to get the trailheads cleaned up. We take great pride at the East Bay Regional Park District of having one of the cleanest park systems in the nation. And so to have litter that comes from a garbage can area dragged down the hill by raccoons or skunks or other wildlife just means somebody's going to have to go into that poison oak at some point and pick up that litter. So we really have to address the litter issue, particularly on the trailheads. And operations staff and Assistant General Manager Jim O'Connor has come up with a plan to do that. And we will be starting garbage service as a priority in those trailheads to be able to get those cleaned up and do that. As we have staff and as we have more ability to do the garbage in other areas, we will do that as well. And as we open more areas, which I know is a goal of the board, we will try to adapt as we can to doing good maintenance of our park facilities. We do not want our beautiful parks littered. And I know some people are helping. I know there are people out there who love the park district who are voluntarily following the rules we've asked, but there's just a big volume of people, which would be normal for spring anyway, but we're not having the ability to do as much maintenance as we have in the past. The second part is we're having conversations about how to open up restrooms in certain areas. As the board knows, we have spent over $500,000 and more on putting brand new restrooms in different areas of the parks. I'm very proud of the board's leadership to fund those restrooms. They are modern. They're not portable toilets. They're really well done. And many of those restrooms have water in sinks and flush toilets. So those are the ones that we want to see open the quickest, where people can wash their hands, where we have the ability to wash out those bathrooms. And so that will be part of that discussion, because sanitation is a critical issue for the health agencies as well as the park district and the public. It is for every park agency. We are currently doing a survey of all the park agencies that have parks open and what they are doing and what restrooms they are maintaining. And we're seeing a broad majority of the park agencies like Santa Clara and San Francisco, LA County, state parks who are maintaining their bathrooms if the parks are open. So that's what the standard is, and we will give you that chart, and it's a lot more than just the ones I've mentioned. But we have to make sure that the protocols, the safety, the health department, the consultation is really very clear, very strongly in the level of protection. And I'd like Jim O'Connor, if I may, to step forward on this issue specifically and talk about the process and what we're doing to acquire additional health and safety standards and protocols and PPEs for our staff, which is number one for safety. We're getting a lot of assistance from other agencies who are saying, here's what we're doing and it's working. And so we're learning as we go, and we think we're ready to start to implement that, because we're not going to be able to keep the restrooms closed. Jim.
Good afternoon, President Corbett, members of the board. Jim O'Connor, your Assistant General Manager of Operations. Just to reinforce what the General Manager Doyle just said, we are, of course, following CDC and local public health officer guidelines and developing the protocols for restroom cleaning. And we're also reaching out to the other agencies and seeing if there are information that they're providing to their staff that may be useful in increasing the protection of our own staff as we move into back into restroom cleaning in parks. I also want to reiterate what GM Doyle said in terms of our focus. As far as we can tell, beyond the May 3rd deadline of the current shelter in place, most likely gathering activities such as picnics and camping and barbecues, et cetera, will still remain off limits. And so the focus will remain trail use in regional parks, and the restrooms efforts, cleaning efforts, and trash collection efforts will be focused on those areas that support trail use in regional parks. One piece of good news that we received yesterday was we did get an additional supply of masks that are called KN95 masks, which can be used as personal protective equipment, as optional personal protective equipment for staff performing maintenance activities such as restroom cleaning and trash collection. And that'll go a long ways towards helping us move back, resuming these activities in the regional parks. And with that, if you have any questions, I can answer them as I can.
Thank you, AGM O'Connor. Do board members have any questions for Jim? Director Wieskamp, and then Director Rosario. Oh, Anne, we need your voice. Don't hear you yet. Anne?
I'm trying to unmute her. It's not
Okay.
working.
Anne, hang on just a second. Yolanda, there you go. You're on the mic now, Anne. Please go ahead.
So we're basically developing a protocol that we'll be using in the restrooms we're opening specifically at this time for trailheads.
That is correct, Director Wieskamp.
And when do you think we will see this protocol?
Staff are hoping to finalize a draft this week, and I'm going to share it with the general manager and the rest of the exec team early next week, with the intention of having that finalized prior to the end of the current shelter in place on the 3rd of May.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Director Rosario had his hand up.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jim. My question is, congratulations on getting those extra masks. Do we have a sustainable supply? If we do open, we're not going to have a interruption because of supply issues. Do we have a good supply sustainability plan?
No, at this time, the supplies of those masks are still very limited. Obviously, N95s are still being prioritized for healthcare workers. The new supply will extend us quite a bit. I don't have an exact date, but one thing we're going to do as staff is to practice extending the life of the mask. We have some protocols in place for extending the life of the N95 and KN95 masks. Allows them to use them for multiple days as long as they're serviceable. So we're including that in our protocols, and hopefully that'll get us some extension until a larger supply is available generally.
And thank you. And what about supplies of toilet paper, hand sanitizer, soap?
Thus far, the supplies of toilet paper don't seem to be an issue. The hand sanitizer, we've come up with a supply for that. We've got that fairly well distributed throughout the parks for all the staff. So I don't think that's an issue at this point that I'm aware of.
Okay. And then my final question is, I know we talked about a rollout, a phase in of facilities. And do we have a plan? Do you know what that plan is? Which restrooms will be open first?
No, I don't have that level of detail, Director Rosario, but I have tasked that to our unit managers and other managers that are managing facilities that have trailhead and trail related facilities, but I don't have that level of detail.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my biggest concern is just we try to keep we give our employees the equipment that they need to be safe. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for this item? General Manager has comment.
Yeah, I just would like Jim to also comment on the requirements for facial covering and cloth masks. we're in good shape on that, but I did not want to leave that out of the specific requirements for cleaning, just the general park use for staff to have that. So I'd like Jim to speak to that. That's a very important part of protecting people.
Absolutely. I just also want to give kudos to our logistics groups and our emergency operations center. They've done a fantastic job of sourcing materials for staff during the crisis, and they've really done a great job. One example, as all of you know, both county public health agencies have issued orders recommending cloth masks when in the public. And at the agency, we ordered cloth masks for our logistics group early on. And actually last Friday, we distributed those masks to staff, to all the park sites, so they're available for our staff to use when they're working in the public or in other situations where they can't properly social distance. So our staff are well supplied with cloth masks, and they're ready to implement the new public health order starting tomorrow on the 22nd.
Director Lane has a question.
Well, it's more of a comment, and that is that I'm pleased to see us beginning to plan for the rollout and getting the supplies. Congratulations. I am concerned about people in my community and everywhere who are, will I say, moving into busybodiness and feeling like they need to correct everyone and shape everyone up and report people. Having heard from some general government people, I think we are going to begin seeing different businesses opening up, and we can't stay in this lockdown forever. At the same time, this virus is going to be around for quite a while. So I appreciate staff working on it so that we can live with the virus, which we will be doing. And again, say to people how important it is for them to protect their elders.
Just one more comment, President Corbett, is we also will have additional signage out in parks regarding the cloth face masks. So we're working on the messaging around that to ensure that we're consistent with the public health order. So that'll be additional signage we'll have out in parks, recommending that visitors do use cloth masks especially in situations where social distancing is a challenge.
I see Director Waspy's hand, but I have a quick follow-up on that. AGM O'Connor, under the new orders with the required face mask usage of the public and workers, for that matter, when they're out and about, is part of that order, does part of that order expect the park district to enforce the face masks? What role, do we have some role under the order that we're required to do?
You know, I'd probably need to get back to you on specifics of that, but what I've seen is that both public health orders from both counties are recommending the use of the cloth mask. So I think we're still in the area of recommendation, and hopefully that'll become a norm for park visitors and members of the community. I've seen it myself out in my community, and I think that's where we're heading for the next few months, is that'll be the norm for all of us.
And was there ever any requirement, you know, this is a sort of thing that goes back and forth, what our role is in social distancing, as you know, what our staff's role is in imposing social distancing. Do we have a specific role? I know that obviously we have closed certain areas where people congregate in order to help the health districts with the social distancing issue, but do we have any, I guess I would just ask you, do we enforce social distancing? Or
President Corbett, I'm going to defer that to Chief Chiaburo. He can probably answer that question because most of that would fall onto the Park District Police Department.
Perfect, thank you.
Good afternoon, Board of Directors. Anthony Chaburo, your AGM of Public Safety and your Chief of Police. Right now, we have determined and we are taking a stance of education regarding social distancing. We do our best to communicate with park visitors along with our fellow park employees, and that's across the division, whether it's signage or someone else working for the park district, to convey a message of social distancing. And that is our stance at this time.
Okay. And I know we've done a lot of awesome work on communicating that with all of our communications plans to get that word out there. But I was just wondering under the order itself, whether we are required, suggested, mandated to take part in the social distancing or the mask wearing.
So,
Mr.
President,
Chairman.
if I may, I've been attending weekly calls with the 7 agencies for those who can attend those calls and park directors in the Bay Area. And it is a recommendation. It is subject, if enforced, it can be subject. I believe Tony will say it's a misdemeanor. And some agencies are citing people, I think, mainly, I think, law enforcement officials in cities and things like that. Our obligation in being really clear about this with the health departments is they're asking us to do our best. They're not asking us to, it is really a social responsibility. They're being clear that it's the individual's responsibility for the safety of themselves and others. And we are part of what we're really doing to push so much information out on social distancing and the rules is to protect our own staff in addition to the public. So it is it's a requirement, but it's not a requirement of us to be the enforcer.
Mhm. Thank you very much. Director Waspy and then Director Coffey.
Well, thank you. Just a comment. Well, and my thanks to all the hard work the staff's doing on this. But am I correct in assuming that this rollout of cleaning restrooms won't be until at least May 4th? Because, don't need to answer that. I think that was what was said. But I would encourage really trying to do that a little sooner. I don't think we can go another 2 weeks in the parks with what's going on. And I personally could have arrested 2 people today at my 3.5 mile hike, and it wouldn't have been for social distancing. It would have been for defecating in a darn park. And I can't believe my fellow humans, but I don't think we're going to survive another 2 weeks if we don't get restrooms open or pick up litter and garbage.
Director Waspy, I think that in talking to Jim and his staff, we're going to do this as fast as we can, but we want to be realistic about being able to get everything in place, the training and phasing it in. But the target is to try to have those trailheads and restrooms open by the 4th. But if we can do it sooner, we'll try. But it's still a lot to be done in addition to the litter cleanup that we have to do as well. So we'll do our best. It's a big challenge. There may be some areas where we do actually have to rent some facilities because we don't have them there at a trailhead or we can't get them done fast enough. And we're looking into that as well. The problem is that those private porta potty companies have really increased the cost, but they've also been really busy. So it's very hard to get that up and going. It's not just a dollar issue. It's actually their protocols on cleaning private restrooms that you rent are not nearly at the level that we service, and we need to service to keep them clean. So that's another challenge. Most of the private rental porta potties they clean once a week, and we need to do more than that. And if we were to do some of that ourselves, we'd have to negotiate that contract. But do we have the ability? Because the whole point is to get that help, so they're doing it, so it relieves some of our labor on that issue. But those are the complications that we're trying to do. But we really do agree that for the health and safety of everyone, restrooms need to be available, and to protect wildlife, to protect the natural resources, to protect people. I won't go so far as to ask how many people have new cases of poison oak, but it's part of the issue of not having restrooms. We need to really do that. And I'm so proud of what you all have done to fund brand new restrooms throughout the district. And the staff has really worked hard to have modern, nice restrooms in the district, and we need to get them open as soon as we can.
Thank you. Director Coffey?
And Bob, County Health Services is aware of the bathroom plans and is supportive, I'm learning.
I haven't had, I will have an update tomorrow. They are paying attention to, and they're pushing other park. The reason why the other park agencies that are open have their restrooms have continued to do that is because there has been a serious concern about sanitation. If you're going to have a park open, you should have restrooms. They are being very understanding of the complexity we have, that we want to protect our people, that it's been a challenge to get all the PPEs in place. We got people sheltering at home with their families for things. So they're being very, very cooperative and understanding, but they're pushing people along because of the increased volume of traffic and the lack of sanitation in some areas. So it's just a high priority. I did want to be clear is that I am confident that within the week or so, there will be a new health order extension, and there will be some relaxing of park use, not more restrictions, but there will also be an extension of that time period. And there may be comments about that you have to provide restrooms if you're going to open up more facilities. But I don't know. All of the health leaders of the entire Bay Area are working on it now and haven't made the final decisions. We have made some recommendations that please give us some flexibility in how we implement, because we can't implement what we don't have the resources to do. But they're still very, very strong in having parks available for people. The longer this goes on, the more critical having parks available is to the mental and physical health of family. So that's what we're working with, and I should have more information on that. And as soon as I do, and they're willing to share it, I will make sure I provide that to the board and to the staff as we work through this. But there will be an extension, and that will further impact shelter in place. But I will wager a bet that we will see some recreation relaxed, perhaps such as golf courses. Golfers are very disciplined. So, I think those are the things you may see, but they have not made those. They're debating what to do now and putting together a new order. But there will be a new order and an extension of shelter in place.
Director Coffey?
Just to follow up, I think it's critical that the general manager elicit the input and support of public health leadership. And I think it's critical because our employees, our staff that will be working on these restrooms and our public that will be using them have real strong concerns about the inherent safety of it. And if we have the input and support of public health leadership, to me, and my ability to support the concept, that would be critical. And I think it will need to be elicited and communicated, particularly to our rangers. Thank you.
I would like to follow up on that for just a moment. I do know that, as we've heard from the general manager, that public health is, of course, interested in the parks remaining open, and he alluded to the fact that there may be some potential orders with regard to restrooms coming up in the future. But I wonder if public health will be specifically looking at not just the piece that they believe restrooms may need to be open, but the contact of staff and the rollout of staff in cleaning restrooms. Whether I know that they are available to give us training, but will they be taking a look and weighing in on any of our protocols?
President Corbett, I just want to be clear that the health departments of all the counties have been very involved in the details and looking at the park management plans, at the operating plans, at the PPEs. For example, one of the reasons that a lot of parks were closed in Marin and Sonoma County was because the staff in those park systems who are county employees are essential services, and they have been assigned to other duties, including helping with homeless, helping with food distribution, and those kind of things. So a lot of the parks and those other agencies don't have the staff in the parks. They have the staff working in the county. And talking to the general managers of both of those agencies, that was a very high priority in the health order to close some of the parks down or more because they needed that staff available to take care of other high priority services in the county.
But I did have a fairly specific part of my question which was that will they be weighing in on the protocols that we are talking about introducing in order to reopen the restrooms? Not that we are going to open them so that people can use the parks with more services, but the piece of our employees, basically along the same lines as Director Coffey's concerns, whether County Health's going to weigh in on that piece.
The county health is very concerned about employee safety, realizing that there are bus drivers and BART workers and all of those who are in public contact all the time. So they're looking very specifically at protocols and they're making those recommendations, but they still are recommendations to the agency. They're not mandates. And for example, it is the health agencies who are saying you should not be using N95s now. They're not needed, and they are really important to the frontline workers in medical. But they're, one of the things that I was told last week is you have to remember that all the other bathrooms are closed. So the Postal Service, the UPS, the FedEx, a lot of those people who are providing service, Muni system, AC Transit, they need restrooms too. So in a lot of the counties, they want those restrooms open so they're available for service workers to use. And that's just something I hadn't thought about. I was thinking just our park users and our park staff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Director Eccles?
Yeah, well, thanks, first of all, very much, GM Doyle and AGM O'Connor for your reports. It's very helpful to get the update. Obviously, the safety of our public and staff is of utmost importance, and appreciate the steps you're taking. And I specifically wanted to concur in the comments that Director Coffey made about having input from health officials on the specifics of the PPE needed and some of the plans moving forward. I also wanted to thank AGM O'Connor for procuring the KN95 masks. I think that is a huge step above the cloth masks. I know we're using both for different purposes, but I think that's really important. And also, I also want to thank AGM O'Connor for updating the signage to recommend that folks wear masks, because that's something I've been hearing a lot about from my constituents who are concerned about when they're walking out on the trail and someone might run or bike or even walk faster than them, and being in that downstream. So and I think that's a legitimate concern. So thank you for updating the signs for that. It's important to the public and to our staff as well to make sure we have as little of other people's breath, etc., as possible. So thanks.
All right. Any other questions, comments on this item?
So President Corbett and to Director Eccles, I think one of the things we have specifically asked the health department is, plural, health departments, is that they give us further guidance on trail use, specifically passing. As you heard earlier today, suggestions that we should have one-way trails in different days. So we have asked for that. I don't know if we'll get that level of detail, but several of the park agencies that have their parks serving the public and open have asked for clarification, because some people are using the shelter-in-place order as you can't pass somebody on a trail that's narrow. So we've asked them to give further clarification, and I'm hoping we get a good discussion of that.
Thanks.
Thank you, much appreciated. Any other comments? All right, Director Wieskamp.
I became aware that children are not supposed, under I think the age of 12, are not supposed to wear masks.
Two, I think.
Um,
There, I actually can speak to that. The order says that children under the age of 12 are not required to wear masks, and children under the age of 2 are not allowed to wear masks because they can't, it could be a risk.
I wonder if people are, the trail I have been on, most children do not have masks on. Some of them are riding little trikes and other things. And I'm wondering how many people are aware of the issues like bike rider coming by, that airflow and that type of thing. I don't know what we can do about it or what message we need to get out there. But obviously it's something parents need to be aware of.
Yeah, I think that's very important. And I think one of the other issues of reality is, I don't know how many of you have tried to get a mask lately, but they're nowhere to be found online or otherwise. And if you order them online, they take many, many weeks. So I think that although obviously we want to encourage that everyone wear masks, some people just might not be able to get them, and there's a lot of people who are making their own, and neighbors who are making them for other neighbors. There's been an awful lot of really nice, kind people on, our neighborhood social information sites that or people are giving people masks. But in any event, I mean, that's just another issue to put out there. I think everybody wants to comply, but there may be some people that just haven't been able to get their hands on any, even cloth masks at this point. Yes, District Council Victor, please.
Board President Corbett, I just wanted to clarify that the order is a recommendation to wear a mask while engaged in outdoor recreation. So where it's mandatory in other settings for outdoor recreation, it's a recommendation. And then they do have, they want people to carry the mask where it's difficult to socially distance. And they also have some guidance for runners and cyclists, including crossing the street or stopping and slowing down to avoid breathing on other users of the parks.
Will we be posting on our website the directives of our two county health agencies with regard to mask usage, so people have another source where to go to get the information?
Absolutely, we can do that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Mr. GM, any other items on this agenda item?
Thank you very much. I just want to thank everybody. I think this is a really good example of the amount and volume of things we're wading through and trying to answer the questions and keep everybody safe. Everybody has to do their part in this really serious thing, but I do think we have to think long term as well. As the board is aware, 5.3 million Americans have filed for unemployment. In the East Bay, we're seeing cities cut back on their budgets and cut back on programs. And this is going to be a long-term impact that we have to start to prepare for ourselves. As you know, because we don't have campgrounds fees coming in, we don't have picnic area reservation fees, we don't have a lot of our typical income. We're losing a lot of we're having a lot of financial impacts to our own park district, not at the level of so many other people, but just we're not getting the program income. We're not getting the our concessions are really struggling, and that's something that we're really focused on as well. We don't want to lose our long-term concession operators. Most of those are mom and pop. They're not corporate. And they're really important to the services we provide, but for the public. But at the same time, those are closed. So we're looking at that. And again, our business practices team and our reservation team and everyone is really working hard to figure out how we help our concessionaires stay afloat when they're closed down and not getting any income. That's a big part of the services we provide for a lot of the public. So we'll be coming back as part of our financial reviews and part of our operations and finance committee updates, which we're scheduling to keep you well informed of what's going on there and what we can and can't do. But, you know, getting a camp operator is a challenge anytime, but having one and then having them not have any income from the camps because they're closed is really, really difficult. And so I want the board to be aware that we're not at all immune from financial impacts, and we're committed to protecting our staff positions and salaries, but there are going to be serious impacts to our bottom line for the district. And it's starting now with just the lack of income we normally get from services that we receive funding from. So we're working on that too. That's enough. I'll say it's next up at bat. We're already working on that, but we're trying to follow the board's recommendations first to get the parks open, to provide that important essential service for the public, and to make our staff and the public safe when they're using these parks. And we all care deeply about the beauty and the reputation of the park district in managing an excellent park system nationally. And we want to be able to somehow keep that going with all the restrictions and limits we have. So I thank everybody from the board all the way through the system for really being creative and doing their part, being our own heroes to take care of these parks that we love and the public loves, and being there for the public. So thanks to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. General Manager. I would just add, I'm sure there'll be further reports coming out with regard to the work being done by our governmental affairs team as well. And I know the legislative committee will have information about our requests for funding through the state from the Federal CARES Act that we will be, we've already been writing letters and requesting some support from that funding. And the governmental affairs has had me schedule Zoom calls with state elected officials. I spoke with Assemblymember Bonta on Monday, and will be scheduled to speak with Senator Skinner as well, in order for us to pass on to them the message and the impact financially on the park district as a result of our extra usage and all of the other important things we need to do, like purchase the PPEs and make sure that we have funding for salaries and et cetera, et cetera. So there is advocacy being done as well, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more of that as well.
And thank you, Director and President of the Board, Corbett, for that. I really want to thank you for that example, and all the board members who are engaging with our local elected officials. What we really have to educate not just the public on, but the elected officials on is we're going to be literally the only game in town when things reopen. We're not going to reopen baseball fields. We're not going to reopen a lot of facilities. And when the doors swing open, we're going to feel like the little Dutch boy in the dam, trying to hold back people who really, really need to get outside. And our government officials, besides you all, have to know that that's where people are going to go. They're going to go to the parks, and the other parks will open. The other agencies will open their parks as well. And we're going to have just a tremendous surge in public again. And we have to start to be prepared for that. And we need help. We need a lot of help to be able to do that. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. If there aren't any additional questions, we will now move on to the consent calendar, which I was eager to do earlier in the meeting. So board members, are there any, excuse me, I'll ask the clerk. Madam Clerk, are there any items that members wish to remove from the consent calendar at this time?
Not to remove, but just questions.
Okay, do we have any questions that still need to be answered?
What I'm going to do is go through the ones, and I believe that many of these have already been responded to. So Director Lane, item C, did you have your question answered?
All of my questions have been answered.
Okay, great. Director Rosario, item E, authorization to enter into an agreement with Outback Adventures for the water sports.
I still need an answer on that one.
Okay. Item F, Director Rosario, authorization to amend a contract with LSA Associates.
Yeah, all all my questions have been answered except for E.
Okay, E,
Okay, thank you very
Okay.
much, Madam Clerk.
you're welcome.
Can we have some answers to Director Rosario's questions for item E? Take that one first.
That I believe is Jeff. Okay. There you go, Jim.
Will that be you, AGM O'Connor?
Good afternoon again, AGM O'Connor. Director Rosario, I believe your question was regards to enforcement of requirements around social distancing for our concession operator at Del Val. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and as per the terms of the lease, the East Bay Regional Park District would be required for enforcing and implementing any social distance requirements to that business once it's up and operating again, depending on, of course, on the public health orders that come out.
Okay. I guess that would be up to the park supervisor.
Yes.
Okay, we can talk later when we get to that scenario, but thank you.
Okay.
All righty. Any other items anyone has to bring up under consent calendar? Director Waspy, was your hand up? Yes, Director Waspy.
Yes, please. Just under item G, a comment. It's about the replacement of the lunchroom floor at Prout Oaks. I noticed there's a provision for an installation of a dishwasher down there, which has been my goal for the last 20 years. I'm glad we don't have to throw away all the plastic and all the other unusable stuff. We can now use reusables and wash them like normal people do. Thank you very much.
In honor of Earth Week, Director Waspy, would you like a motion to adopt the consent calendar, which includes the dishwasher?
Thank you. Yes, I would. I would move the entire consent calendar.
All right. And I see a second from Director Lane. All those in favor, we'll do a roll call. Director Wieskamp,
Aye.
Director Lane. She said aye.
Aye.
Director Coffee, aye.
Aye.
Coffee, aye. Director Rosario,
Aye.
Director Waspy,
Aye.
Director Eccles,
Aye.
Director Corbett, aye. Unanimous adoption of the consent calendar. Thank you, everybody. And congratulations, Dennis. It only took 20 years. All right. So the next item is under Acquisition, Stewardship, and Development Division. The first one is item A, authorization to enter into an option purchase and sale agreement and transfer the appropriate funds for acquisition of a parcel in the Las Trampas Wilderness Regional Preserve. And we have a report.
Thank you, Director Corbett. Assistant General Manager Christina Kelchner. And I'm going to hand this over to Mike Reeves, our Chief of Land, to give you a report. But just by way of a quick introduction, staff is very pleased to bring to the board today this proposed acquisition of the Guarini property. This is a 62-acre parcel adjacent to the Las Trampas Wilderness Regional Preserve that will expand the preserve and provide for future trail access along the Rocky Ridge View Trail. The district has been talking with the Guarini family for a number of years, and we're excited to bring this acquisition. We believe it will be a valuable addition to the park system. I want to congratulate Mike Reeves and the land staff for their, once again, patience and perseverance and working with the family to reach an agreement that's going to work for all parties. And with that, I will pass it over to Mike to share the details. Thank you.
Just wanted to say that is such a beautiful photograph.
Thanks, Christina. Good afternoon, President Corbett, members of the board. Mike Reeves, Chief of Land Acquisition. And let me adjust my screen here. As Christina mentioned, this is a property that we have looking at for some number of years now. And these opportunities, they often present themselves on the basis of relationships that we've developed over time with property owners. And this is one such case. We were first discussing opportunities with the Guarinis back in 2014, and that was with my predecessor, Liz Musbach, and Suzanne Lusk also worked on that at the time. It just turned out that the timing wasn't right for the Guarinis. The concept was one that both parties embraced, but the time just wasn't there. Fast forward to today, and the timing is right for the Guarini family. And so again, those relationships allow us to bide our time for when it works for both parties to move something forward. So this property is 62 acres, comprising the Alameda County portion of the property. The county boundary, and I'm going to.
I can't hear him.
Michael, we can't hear you.
We can see it.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Not now.
I'm going to see if I can get a, there we go. All right. So the Guarini property is this long rectangular property you see here. It fronts on Bollinger Canyon Road, which is here on the north side. The entrance to the Guarini property is almost straight across the street from where our park office for Los Trampas is located here. And then there's an access road that takes you into the property. You start climbing almost immediately. The Guarini residence is located about here where the Guarini word is. And then a dirt road continues on up the hill, and then eventually brings you out to the ridge line here. So this is Rocky Ridge all along here generally, and the ridge line more or less forms the county boundary between Contra Costa and Alameda counties. The portion of the Guarini property that is the opportunity before you today, again, is the Alameda County portion here. Our Rocky Ridge View Trail is open, and it extends in the southeasterly direction along the ridge, affording spectacular views to both sides on either direction. And then that trail terminates at the property line with the Guarini property currently. We have property that on both sides of Guarini. On the east side here, we have access from Bollinger Canyon Road, and that ranch road that travels along the ridge line there continues through this property as well. But here we have the gap. And so part of this acquisition is also the grant of a trail easement for public recreational use along this ranch road here along that ridge top. So we can connect and extend the Rocky Ridge View Trail further southeasterly onto our lands here, which are currently land banked. This is an aerial view of the 63 acres that is available for purchase. Rocky Ridge, again, the formation here in this direction along this line here.
Michael.
Yes. Can you hear me? Okay.
In and out. You're going in and out.
Okay. I'm going to get closer to the microphone on my end, and that might help.
Thank you.
All right. This is, again, Rocky Ridge here. This blue line is Bolinas Creek. As one tributary of Bolinas Creek. Another tributary of Bolinas Creek is here. So this Guarini property is within the watershed, the upper watershed of Bolinas Creek. Okay, so we're going to look at, okay, so the purposes for considering this acquisition includes, it does again present an opportunity to extend Rocky Ridge View Trail. It will provide a corridor of protected open space along Rocky Ridge. So it'll preserve that landscape and that view shed along the ridge there. And then again, it will as mentioned, it will help protect the upper watershed for Bolinas Creek. Now we're going to turn to some photographs, and we're going to start on Bollinger Canyon Road. This is the property entrance to the property gate here, and we're gonna travel pretty quickly up to the ridge top. This is where the residence is located, and we're not looking at the residence, but we're just going to look southerly. We're going to head up that ridge, and here you see the access road from the residence that continues on up, get you to that ridge top. So we're going to travel to the top of the ridge, and this is the kind of views that are afforded from that location on the property. This is looking southerly, and the 63 acres that's the subject for this potential acquisition is in the immediate foreground. Drops down here, so we're gonna pivot now to the southeast along that ridge trail, or along that ranch road. And here you see this is the fence line that separates the subject property, which is in the foreground, and then on the other side of that fence, and here's the gate along that ranch road. This is our former Mueller property here, and that's the ranch road that continues in that southeasterly direction along Rocky Ridge. And then in the background there is San Ramon Valley and the city of San Ramon. Bollinger Canyon here. So again, for orientation, that's Bollinger Canyon Road down below. And now we're going to pivot the other direction and look northwesterly along Rocky Ridge. And here the foreground is the subject property. Again, the county boundary between the two counties runs in a straight line, but generally along this ridge line here. So to the right on this image, to the right of the ridge top would be the Contra Costa portion of Guarini, which again is not the subject of this acquisition opportunity. It's on the left side there. There's the Alameda County portion. And then in the distance, right about here, is where the property boundary is between Guarini and then Las Trampas, the open portion, and where the Rocky Ridge View Trail currently terminates at about this location there. So now what we're doing is we're descending on the Alameda County side into that 63 acres that is the subject for this acquisition. And most of what you see in the foreground and the middle ground is the subject 63 acres. There's grasslands, there's riparian habitat in these ranges here. There's also, there's a good amount of chaparral on this property, as it is along the south-facing slope of Rocky Ridge onto our land. You see there's that band of chaparral there. So that's another resource feature that's unique to Rocky Ridge, or endemic to, I should say. Another unique feature of the Rocky Ridge corridor is a lot of rocks. And so there's some images here to show the rockscapes that are present on the property.
Can't hear you, Michael.
This boulder is about twice the height of a adult. So some substantial rock formations on the property. That's the last of the photos. I'm going to go to the funding portion of this. So again, this was a project that began back in 2014. And there were previous appropriations to this project budget. So what we're requesting today is $9,000 in additional appropriations to handle current funding costs, which include $10,000 option payment, appraisals in the past and the current appraisal, phase 1 site assessment, and staff time. So the total current project appropriations, including today's request of $9,000, is $54,000, and that is also our current total project cost. And with that, I would open it up to questions from the board.
Thank you very much, Michael. Are there any questions? Shall we take down the document so we can see each other?
I'll stop sharing.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Yes, I'm really pleased we're pursuing this. So what you're saying is to the north, that is Las Trampas Regional Wilderness, and it is open for public use.
Director Lane, that's correct. In the northwesterly direction, that portion of our preserve is open, and it has that Rocky Ridge View Trail that goes to the property boundary.
Okay, so and the former Mueller property is land bank.
To the southeast on the other side, that's correct. And that's the former Mueller property, also the former Helig property, which was our most recent acquisition in that immediate area. That's another narrow band of parkland that's on that southeasterly side, and also land bank.
So if can people reach, start at Bollinger somewhere on our land bank property? I mean, is there an access along our land bank property that would bring them up to Rocky Ridge?
Well, right now we have, there's administrative access, there's a ranch road. Either, I believe it's on Mueller and Helig, will get you to the top of the ridge on those roads. Again, land banked, I'm not certain what the stats would be of looking at the Helig or the Mueller properties on that southeasterly side as a potential public access point. But there are serviceable roads from those properties from Bollinger Canyon that will take you to that ridgetop ranch road.
Yeah, so I think it would be important to let planning know that here's an opportunity for people to go further along the ridge and to come up and down from Bollinger, because any of the more accesses we have to get up to the ridge, the more we can distribute people who want to get on this park. So, thank you.
Did I see Director Coffey's hand earlier? No. Anyone else? Yes, Director Waspy.
Well, congratulations to staff. I think it's a great acquisition, and I know it's been a long time and on and off, but I think this is going to be beautiful. It's gorgeous. My only question is, you just discussed roads to get up there. Is there any way that people will have access by trail or road to those beautiful rock structures you pictured?
Thank you, Director Waspy. Those rocks are accessible through a ranch road on the Guarini property that does descend partially down that south-facing slope and gets you to a kind of a level spot there, where from there you can scramble around and get to some of those rocks. Yeah.
Excellent.
And Director Waspy, if I may just, that is the same rock formations that we have, the wind caves that have been well known in Las Trampas for a long time on the existing part to the north. I do want to just comment, though, that a lot of those rock outcrops are very valuable habitat for falcons and raptors, so we're going to have to look at the resources there as well to protect those species.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Yes, Director Eccles. Oops, we need your microphone.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to unmute myself. Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. It's fabulous, beautiful land, and I'm really excited about the acquisition. And maybe I'm new, but I was just wondering, it sounds like today we're only being asked to allocate or authorize a small amount of money compared to the 466,700 appraisal. So is that already allocated somewhere else, or where does the rest of the money come from after we have, assuming we exercise the option and everything looks good and we want to go forward, which hopefully we will, um, is that money also earmarked from somewhere else?
Thank you, Director Eccles. So the funds used for up to this point for this project come from a pot of money that we use, as it states in the board letter there, preliminary acquisition studies pot. So that's for across the board for any opportunity within the Park District service area. Then when we get to specific monies for acquisition for purchase price, we will tap into the Measure WW allocation pot for this particular for Las Trampas. And there are funds in there. I don't know what that current balance is, but there are sufficient funds when we come back, when staff comes back to the board after our due diligence for authorization to exercise the option and to purchase the property.
Great, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Michael. We certainly appreciate the presentation, and we thank the Guarinis for working with us as well. And I think what's nice about this project is it exemplifies the fact that everybody is still on the job, moving forward on all the other regular things we do here at the Park District. So thank you very much for that. During these complicated times and doing things a little differently, we appreciate your success. If there's no other questions about this item, this is a resolution to be adopted. Is there a motion on the resolution? Director Lane moves the resolution. Is there a second? And Director Rosario seconds it. So let's have a roll call on this resolution to authorize us to enter into an option purchase and sale agreement, transfer of appropriate funds for the acquisition of 62.36 plus acres of real property and 1,300 lineal foot recreational trail easement from Michael and Rebecca Guarini at the Las Trampas Wilderness Regional Preserve. Director Lane?
Aye.
Oh, sorry, I'm not in order again. Thank you. Director Wieskamp? Director Coffey?
Yes.
Director Rosario?
Yes.
Director Waspy?
Yes.
Director Eccles?
Yes.
Corbett, aye. That's a unanimous adoption of the resolution. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So our next item, sounds like you're up too, Michael. Item B is authorization to execute a right-of-way contract with Alameda County Transportation Commission for some property rights for the required construction on Interstate 80 Gilman Street interchange improvement and construction of a new segment of the San Francisco Bay. I know that we're excited about this really great project. Hello, Christina.
So Director Corbett, members of the board, AGM Kelchner, and I'm going to hand this to Brian Holt to present this item today. We are excited to bring this forward. This item represents a multi-agency, multi-year effort to make some improvements to the I-80 freeway off-ramp. There are traffic circulation, congestion, and pedestrian safety issues there. The project is not a district project. It is a project that is led by the Alameda County Transportation Commission in cooperation with Caltrans and the cities of Berkeley and Albany. The Park District has been involved in the negotiations for several years. The project proposes a new pedestrian and bicycle overpass over the freeway, I-80, and ACTC requires some land rights from the district in order to land that bridge. So the bridge will actually land on some property owned by the Park District. So we've had the opportunity to be at the table and be in those negotiations. And I'm pleased to report that due to the good negotiations led by Brian Holtz, our Chief of Land, and assisted by Sean Dugan and Mike Reeves, that ACTC has agreed to construct a new segment of the Bay Trail as part of the project. So that's a very good result for the district and for public access. We do believe the significantly improve public access to the shoreline and to the park in that area. So the item before you today is an important milestone in that it requests board approval to convey the land rights from the Park District to Alameda County Transportation Commission, which the ACTC needs in order to meet their funding requirements. So I'm going to hand it over to Brian Holt to give us more detail on that project. Thank you.
Thank you, AGM Kelchner. Hello, Brian.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, very
Yes.
good, thank you. So let's see, I'm gonna go back to so thank you, Brian Holt, Chief of Planning and GIS. I'm happy to be here today presenting to you the Gilman Street Interchange Project. And what we're looking at here is an aerial photo of the general project area. So you can see here on the right of your screen is the Tom Bates Regional Sports Complex and McLaughlin East Shore State Park. Gilman Street is the street that is trending from the right to left on your screen here, and you see two red ovals that sort of outlines the main intersections here, which is the primary project area. As mentioned, this is a project, this is not a district-led project, this is a project led by Alameda County Transportation Commission in cooperation with Caltrans, the City of Berkeley, and the City of Albany. The project was originally initiated in 2012 and began at about 5 years from 2014 to 2019. They were able to complete their. Are you able to hear me, Director Corbett?
You're breaking up just a little bit, Brian.
Oh, I am sorry. Is it better if I do it like this?
Can you all hear Brian?
Is that better?
It's a little better, but it is kind of going in and out a little bit.
Okay, I apologize. I think there's just internet capacity issues.
Uh-oh.
Yes, I think all the board members, I'm going to mute all of you so that we can hear Brian.
What an opportunity.
Okay.
Okay, so apologize for that, going back, and I did share the presentation with Christina as well. So if we continue to have problems, please let me know, and hopefully she can pop up the presentation there, so to avoid any conflicts that I have. So again, the environmental review was completed in 2019. And then now we're in the phase of Caltrans is needing to complete its right of way. And that's to be done now. The reason why we're here before you today is Caltrans needs to complete this right of way to be able to secure some of their grant funding, or ACTC, I'm sorry, needs to secure some of their grant funding in order to keep their schedule to continue to construction in 2021 and then 2020 through 2023. This is a big project, $55 million project budget. And the Park District has been involved in this since the very beginning. Stakeholder advisory group, sort of a schematic of the project. The primary improvement is 2 roundabouts at north and south Gilman I-80 interchange. The project would also include a pedestrian and bike overcrossing over I-80, and then a pedestrian and bike path through the I-80 undercrossing, including a 2-way cycle track along Gilman Street. And as Christina Kelchner mentioned, the project will be providing a closure of the Bay-Trail Gap along Gilman Street that will connect to our recently completed Albany Beach Bay Trail project. And just overall will result in improved access to McLaughlin East Shore State Park and Tom Bates Regional Sports Field. So this is another exhibit looking at it separately. And you can see the improvements here and in this area. To your right are some photos of the existing conditions. The top photo here shows this strip of land where the pedestrian crossing will land. So this in fee title. And then below that is a picture of sort of existing conditions on Gilman Street, where you can see there's not currently Bay Trail and pedestrian improvements there. So you can see there's a number of bicycle related goals, pedestrian related goals to close the gap in local bicycle facilities through this project, facilitate bicycle travel through the Bay Trail in North Berkeley, improve bicycle safety. I'm going to attempt to run this simulation given internet connectivity. It may or may not work, so please feel free to stop me if it does not. But what we are going to view here is a quick video simulation. There's a bicyclist traveling to the west along Gilman Street. This would be the a bike trail that runs along Gilman Street and provides more safer pedestrian, bicycle, and pedestrian connectivity. As we go through the intersection, you can see this is the roundabout area. And for those of you familiar with the current situation there, it's a huge improvement over current conditions. And then we will travel up and over the pedestrian overcrossing, violating social distancing rules right there. And then continuing to go up and over Interstate I-80 as we go. So very similar to the overcrossing that currently exists over University Avenue, and providing greater connectivity from the West Berkeley neighborhoods to McLaughlin East Shore and to Tom Bates Regional Sports Fields. And as you can see, as we decline and we go down now, this is the area of land where we will be conveying over to HCTC for their project and the landing. And then you can see the trail would continue down Gilman Street. So I am going to back to the presentation here. So with that, the recommendation is to execute a right-of-way contract with ACTC, convey fee title to 644 square feet, maintenance easement to ACTC for landscape strip, 4,500 square feet, and a temporary construction easement to ACTC for construction staging along Gilman Street of 14,400 square feet. So with that, this property was appraised. ACTC is required to provide us for the appraised value of the property. So they will be paying $63,613 for the land value. And again, Bay Trail at Albany Beach along Gilman Street, and improving pedestrian access to McLaughlin East Shore in general. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen and I am happy to answer any questions.
Directors, any questions? Director Eccles, do you have anything on this? Yes, Director Eccles.
Sure. Thank you so much, Brian. I am very excited about this project. As we've heard, it's a multi-agency, multi-year project, and congratulations. In particular, the bike and pedestrian overcrossing will just dramatically increase access from West Berkeley through both bicycles and walking. And I think that's really, really fabulous. I'm also very excited about closing the gap in the Bay Trail and increasing the extra bike access along Gilman as well. So great work all the way around. All the questions I have already been answered. So just thank you. Thanks very much. I'm really looking forward to this.
Director Lane.
This is going to be such an improvement over those Gilman intersections. Anybody who's tried to get through it, around it, by it, it's very difficult. I have some questions about just the east, I guess it's the northern end of the Tom Bates Fields. Is there parking there now? So will there be major changes at that end to wind the Bay Trail from the shore to the frontage road? To say something about what that end will look like.
Yeah, there, and I may tap into Chief of Land Acquisition, Mike Reeves here as well to comment on this. There is some existing parking there. I would say it's relatively unstructured parking as it currently exists, and that parking will be more formalized with the Bay Trail, some being able to follow along Gilman Street within the city of Berkeley. Routinely floods, so there will be some stormwater improvements in that area as well that to address some of that condition. And then Mike, I'm not sure if you have anything additional that you want to say regarding parking on that northern end.
Yeah, well, most of that parking footprint is for the sports fields and within the lease footprint. There's also a small parking corral, which is fenced off, but allows cars to get in there, maybe a dozen spaces for about a dozen cars. And that's reserved, if you will, for access into McLaughlin East Shore State Park at that location. So the new trail improvement will involve removing that fence. It'll push the fence back a little bit. We'll lose 1 or 2 parking spots as a result of the new Bay Trail alignment, but they're going to rebuild that fence in its entirety, the enclosure fencing for that parking corral. So that's another improvement that will come with the project.
So will the trail be between the cars and the field? Is that where the trail will go?
No. Is that correct, Mike?
The new segment of Bay Trail will run along the southern border of the Gilman Street right-of-way, and just inside of our land, which is why the easements are required. But that will be, yeah. So you'll turn into the northern parking. You'll cross the Bay Trail to turn into the northern parking lot.
Anyone else? Oh,
Yes.
sorry, Director Lane, please.
Wondering is that Bay Trail going to be directly next to Gilman with the cars between the trail, trail, cars, field, or is it going to be field, trail, cars?
Well, I don't believe that the plan will allow for any parallel parking along Gilman Street. So from Gilman Street, it'll be Gilman Street, the Bay Trail, the parking area, and the fields.
Any other questions? I have a quick question and a comment. Again, congratulations. What a fabulous project and a fine example of connectivity from neighborhoods to parks that we have on the other side of major infrastructure. I hope we'll find some more opportunities to do some of these things. I have a quick question. Hopefully it's not too off subject. So this is a CTC funded project. So is it a Berkeley City project or is it a CTC project?
Alameda County Transportation Commission is the lead. They are the primary funding agency, and Caltrans has been the lead agency for purposes of CEQA, and they will be those who construct it. And then the city of Berkeley is involved in that they will be owning portions of the project and maintaining segments, including the Bay Trail section.
But would it have been initiated by the Transportation Commission as one of their projects?
Yeah, correct. That's the origin of the. Sorry, the origin of this project it did come from ACTC, is my understanding.
I think we need to talk to them. All right. Thank you very much. If there's no other comments, again, congratulations. Another fine example of all the great work that's going on at the district, even under these new ways of doing business. So thank you all very, very much for your work and dedication. All righty. This is also a resolution. I'm assuming that Director Eccles might like to make this motion. Moved by Director Eccles and seconded by Director Waspy. So this is a resolution to authorize and to execute a right-of-way contract with the Alameda County Transportation Commission, granting ACTC real property rights required for the construction of the Interstate 80 Gilman Street Interchange Improvement Project, including construction of a new segment of the San Francisco Bay Trail. So let's call the roll. Director Wieskamp. Director Wieskamp says aye. Director Lane.
Aye.
Aye. Director Waspy.
Aye.
Director Eccles.
Aye.
And I'm an aye too. So unanimous adoption of that resolution. Thank you all very much for awesome, fun, great news. All right. So this takes us to item 3 under Executive and Legislative Division. And first item up is A, the adoption of a temporary emergency leave policy implementing the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. And will that? Yes. Thank you for joining us, Kip. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Just a moment. Get this screen here. So this, there we go. So this should be a relatively brief presentation, but I'll certainly be available for your questions. What you have before you, so my name is Kip Walsh. I am the Chief Human Resources Officer for the East Bay Regional Park District, and want to present you with this temporary emergency leave policy. This leave policy is being presented as part of the Park District's implementation April 1st, and will continue through December 1st. So this, as I said, was signed into law earlier this year and continues through December. The law provides for up to 2 weeks or 80 hours of paid emergency sick leave for employees. It also expands the Family Medical Leave Act, FMLA, for 12 weeks of job protected leave for COVID-related leave due to school closures or an employee's inability to secure daycare. The proposed policy we're presenting today would implement the act for the Park District, and in our implementation of it, we'll be following the rules that are consistent with the Department of Labor's guidance and regulations. So very broadly speaking, the act provides for these 2 leave provisions. One is emergency paid sick leave, that's the 2 weeks allowed, and then the other is the extended family medical leave. I want to make note of the fact that the Park District's policy is presented to you today specifically for those first 2 weeks of sick leave. The law has certain caps on pay limits depending on what the leave is for. The Park District, the policy we're advancing to you today, instead says that the Park District will provide for full pay for those leaves, and so the full pay for those 2 weeks. Under the sick leave, I also want to just quickly make note that we did make the policy decision in our recommendation that we've brought forward to you that first responders, our sworn police, fire, and then also our dispatchers will be eligible for this 2-week emergency paid sick leave provision. The other side of it is the Extended Family Medical Leave Act, and in that, that provides for a portion of pay for up to 12 weeks. Again, we're allowing employees who qualify for this leave in those first 2 weeks For the subsequent 10 weeks, they would be paid according to the law, which is 2/3 of their pay, up to $200 a week. Our policy does recommend that first responders be exempted from this provision, and that is because our first responder staff, our sworn police officers, our sworn full-time firefighters, and our dispatch play a critical role in providing public safety and ensuring our services to the public. And to have too many of those employees off on this leave would cripple our public safety opportunities. So we are not recommending that we extend it to first responders. So these are the policy highlights. I just want to quickly highlight the things that are part of our policy going forward that were decision points in our recommendations. One is what I've already highlighted, and that is that for those 2 weeks of pay, employees would enjoy 100% of their pay rather than some adjusted amount, and that the Park District is not exempting first responders. For the extended family medical leave, we are following the federal pay limits, except that we extend that first 2 weeks at 100%, and we're exempting our first responders. Also, I'll move on to talk about negative sick leave accrual just real quickly. That the whole goal of this policy and our recommendations and putting it forward is to do our best to ensure that employees continue to remain in paid status as long as possible. Currently, employees the Park District has extended paid administrative leave to our employees who are not at work because the Park District is not able to provide them with assignments. That is continuing now and through the shelter in place which ends May 3rd. After May 3rd, we would shift to implementing this particular policy where if employees are out and they're not able to work because of a COVID-related reason, they'd be availing themselves of this leave that the Fed. Let's see, yeah. So I want to make a couple more comments before I close. One is that I just want to say again that our recommendations were thoughtful in terms of making sure that employees stay paid and that our provisions are a little more generous than the feds require, but we meet the requirements of the law in the policy that we're putting forward. And I also wanted to acknowledge that we had 2 meetings each with our bargaining association to meet and confer and discuss the impact of this policy and its application with our employees. And neither union raised objections to the policies we were bringing forward. However, AFSCME did ask that we modify the document, and so I do want to read into the record some changes to the policy itself. And if you'll give me just a second to futz with the technology and make that happen. Let's see. Here we are. So this is the policy document that's in your package. It's part of the report and resolution. The first part of it deals with the emergency paid sick leave. There were no changes discussed in our meetings regarding that. However, under the Emergency Family Medical Leave Expansion Act, there were 2 changes that AFSCME requested and that we've agreed to incorporate. So number 3, where it talks about an employee's benefits continuing while they're on the leave. There was a reference to employee paid premiums. The language just wasn't abundantly clear that what that was talking about was the employee paid portion of the premiums. So we've made a modification there to account for that. So number 3 now reads, any Park District paid benefits to which the employee is normally entitled per current policy would continue through this approved leave period. Employees will continue to be responsible for any applicable employee paid premiums, period. And then secondly, I want to just quickly go over item number 6 on the same page. This is where the policy document discussed an employee's right of return following the leave. And there was language in the original policy document that was taken from the law itself, the Families First law. And what we're doing here is because those provisions are consistent with the existing Family and Medical Leave Act, we're making the language reflect that. So instead, it now reads, employees' return rights following emergency family and medical leave will be administered in a manner consistent with the Park District's existing Human Resources Policy number 11, which governs family and medical leave. And those were the only changes that were requested as a result of our discussions with the union. I'm available and happy to respond to any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Kip, and thank you for the very thorough presentation. I just have one quick question first, since, obviously based on your report, you have already been out presenting these programs to our staff and they're being informed about it. Are these slides or something similar watching today that can't see the slides. So is this sort of information, this printed material, something that's available and that you're using for staff to understand these new policies?
Thank you. So they are not yet available, but absolutely we can and will post them to our SharePoint site. We're all sources and the finance payroll team, we're working on meeting with different divisions and supervisors and managers to help them understand their responsibilities under these policies, and then also to share information widely to the workforce to make sure that they understand what these policies are and how they apply. And we in HR will certainly make ourselves available to respond to employees' questions and help them navigate this leave policy.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate that, Kip. Any other questions or comments, directors? Director Rosario?
Yes, Kip, thank you so much for this. The only question I have is, I don't see a date of implementation. And I think in past discussions, we talked about May 3rd or 4th. Is that correct?
That's great. So the law went into effect April 1st. It's a little bit of a fine balancing act, and maybe Carol Victor could help weigh in a little bit on how to parse this out correctly. The law took effect April 1st, and we're bound by it effective April 1st. However, what we have agreed to, and is certainly what I represented to both of the unions that I met with, is that the Park District will start applying this policy beginning May 4th, after the day after it goes into effect May 3rd, and we'll start applying it to employees leave the next day, May 4th.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions, Director? District Council Victor, did you have anything else to add to that? Oh, you're on mute.
No, I think the Chief Human Resource Officer, Kip Walsh, explained the law and its implementation very well. So as she said, the law went into effect on April 1st. So any employee was entitled to avail themselves of the benefits under the law, but are not had to yet be under his authority.
All right, thank you. Anything else, anyone? So we thank the Chief Human Resources Officer for all of her extraordinary work during these extraordinary times, and very much appreciate you rolling this out and providing all that information so people can understand what their rights, responsibilities, and what programs they can avail themselves of. So thank you very much. Anything else, anyone? All right. Make the motion to adopt our new temporary emergency leave policy implementing the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. Moved by Director Rosario, seconded by Director Lane. All those in favor, please. Oh, excuse me. That's the old way we did things. Okay, roll call. Director Wieskamp.
Aye.
Director Lane.
Aye.
Director Coffey.
Aye.
Director Rosario.
Aye.
Director Waspy.
Aye.
Director Eccles.
Aye.
Corbett, aye. Is unanimously adopted. Next item is item B, which is a discussion and direction regarding the continued temporary closure of Stanford Avenue staging area at Mission Peak Regional Preserve. Mr. GM, you have a report for us?
Thank you very much, President Camp, Robert Doyle, General Manager. I wanted to
You called me Camp.
I wanted to be able to have this conversation occur today, and with a recommendation that I will be making, and to make sure that we have a consensus amongst the board members on that action. Is my proposal to close the Stanford Boulevard staging area until May 4th, allowing the staff to clean up the site and get restroom service at that very popular and busy site. And in the meantime, we will continue to do as we've done for a long time to encourage people to use the Ohlone College parking lot. And while we've had many comments about that, it seems to be working. People are going there. There is a fee, but that is a very nice hike up to the top of the ridge. The popularity of Stanford Boulevard is a straight shot up the ridge, up to the top to get your picture taken or get your exercise up to the top. A little bit of history is important. The district has, in fact, operated this park for decades. That park existed, frankly, long before a lot of the development occurred in that area. So it has just become very popular. And what we are getting is lots of complaints, which we've gotten in the past. COVID of overcrowding of busy streets. So over a year ago, we put in place, in collaboration with the city, a permit parking for weekend and holidays in the neighborhood, and that has improved the issue of parking in front of people's houses and things like that, which was a major issue that we worked out with the city. We're pleased with that process. Our parking is limited there, and as the board knows, we produced a full EIR to look at new parking options. We completed that EIR with a recommendation of a large 300-car parking lot up on the plateau above the existing parking lot. That EIR was litigated by neighbors in the area, and we settled that agreement with them through our legal counsel negotiations. So that EIR stands with the settlement in place. The issue for a new parking lot is frankly financial. The estimates of that parking lot are so be able to build that. That funding is not in place. We have $1 to $2 million available through Measure WW and other sources, but we do not have the money allocated. We have it as a budget to start to do that design, which we've done, and do the EIR, but we have not allocated, nor do we have the funding in place at this time to build the full scale of that larger new parking lot. Therefore, we've been living under the conditions of a small parking lot and a very popular entrance. Since the COVID-19 virus has occurred with the shelter in place, we have signed the park extensively. In general, we are seeing fair compliance with the social distancing, but what we're getting is the crowds in the parking lot before they can distance as they head up the trail. We've gotten a lot of complaints from citizens that there isn't social distancing, but our own staff every day parking lot and the traffic problems related to people circling around the parking lot, trying to find a parking place, meeting up to go on a hike with their family and friends. But it is well signed and it is well monitored. The bigger problem seems to be now the very reasonable frustration from neighbors that there is not restroom service and it's not garbage and has proven to be an unfortunate situation with the neighborhood. But I want to be clear, there have been a lot of correspondence to this board about closing it longer than my recommendation, which is a week later after the shelter in place order, the current one, is changed. The staff's concern is we are very aware that the shelter in place order is going to get extended. So what does that then mean to the point of waiting a week after the shelter in place order is lifted? Because it's not going to get lifted, it's going to be extended. So that does not create a situation where temporary closure becomes a longer term closure and we haven't solved the desire for people to get back in and be able to use their park. The park is operated by lease from the city of Fremont and has been for over 25 years. That lease is up at the end of July, and we are continuing to negotiate in good faith with the city about what a new lease will look like. But I want to be clear that all of from the city of Fremont, we do not receive any funding for the development of the park that we have developed today or the maintenance of that. We do not receive money for policing and patrolling that park. It's all 100% the cost of the East Bay Regional Park District. And there also have been comments about that somehow people from Santa Clara are a large portion of the population that are using that park, and something should be done about that. We and all rooms are open. So their perspective is they're doing their best to not increase traffic by closing something down. And I think that's a valid point from their perspective. But finally, I think the recognition that we are not a city park district. We are a regional system of regional parks, and we serve all the public. When we manage and have a beautiful park in somebody's area, it does benefit the overall area as a valuable scenic parkland. The issue here at Fremont and at Stanford specifically has been the parking lot is undersized for the demand. We do not believe that the park is undersized for the demand. It's the parking lot and the access to it there. Should that parking lot remain closed longer, we believe there's going to continue to be traffic problems downstream from the parking lot. If it's completely closed, no matter how much we move them or try to move them, and we have done that in good faith down to Ohlone College, people want to go to that entrance at Stanford. So it's another challenge we're having during the COVID-19. We have had other complaints of traffic in other areas, but the staff's recommendation is that we close it and until May 4th. That's a Monday. Gives the staff an opportunity to get it ready, not on a busy weekend, but to get ready, to get restroom service and to clean up the park and do the maintenance that's needed there. If we should do it longer, there is not a commitment of additional patrol or service or traffic work by the city. The city has asked us to close it, and we are not capable. We do not have the police resources to be a traffic director if that is closed. We do not control the streets. The city does. They patrol those in the neighborhood. And we have recommended strongly that it would be helpful during this time that the permit parking that's on weekend and holidays gets extended to weekdays as well. We think that that would assist us in managing traffic, but we do not agree that the city, with the city's position that it should be extended longer, nor do they have the authority under the current lease to demand that we do that. It is really a decision of this board. And we want to say that we've had a great working relationship with the city, but this is a challenging time, continues to be challenging. And you have seen the correspondence from residents as well as people who are park users, and it's frustrating to them. But it is a regional park. It is not a local park. So that's my perspective and my recommendation. And I hope the board will support that recommendation, but it's really up to you to decide. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General Manager Doyle. We do have public comments on this item. And so I'm going to ask District Council to give us the public comments. Maybe you can let us know how many we received, and I don't know if you want to break them down as pro and con for open or close. That might be helpful as well. And again, I would like to remind the public who is listening that these letters briefed by our district council have been made available to the board members, have been read by the board members. We received them and read them late into the evening last night, and some of us got up early and read the rest. So I just want to assure you, we have read these letters on all sides that we have received. We may be receiving some more today, and those will be made available to us as well. So District Council, if you'd like to go ahead and share with us public comments. And Madam Clerk, too, thank you.
Thank you, President Corbett. So I have 18 emails on the Mission Peak item. That total might differ slightly from what the clerk of the board has. And I think a couple of emails came into the board of directors and to district council and maybe didn't get copied to the clerk of the board. So after the meeting, we'll make sure that everything gets posted as
just for a second, I want to just mention again to the public that these are items that came in under public comment, but I know the board members actually personally received on their park district emails many letters as well that came directly to our phones and other devices, and we have read those as well. So just want you to know we are paying attention to all of the various comments coming in under public comments and to those directly to us as well. Thank you. Sorry about that.
So I'll read the 5 emails that were in support of keeping Mission Peak Conservancy. He knows that sanitation issues at Mission Peak will be addressed per the general manager's comments at the last board meeting. He believes Ohlone is not a safer alternative due to the narrow trails and multiple gates. He knows there's also a parking fee. He says the health officer is the authority on social distancing and coronavirus control and has said that parks should remain open. He believes the city should close Stanford Avenue east of Vineyard to allow visitors walking on the sidewalk, to avoid walking on the sidewalk. And Sewell Bargov, he lives near Mission Peak and he appreciates that the park remains open. He said it is important for the physical and mental well-being of the community. He said that he noted that there is additional trash and he asked that the park district do enforcement, including finding park users who leave trash. Kelly Abreu with Mission Peak Conservancy states that the concerns regarding social distancing and sanitation are being addressed. He also notes that the health officer's letter giving guidance that parks are essential, and he requests that the park stay open. Michael Lee says he is a 30-year resident of Fremont and 71 years old. He hikes 3 times a week from Stanford to the top of Mission Peak. He urgently feels the need to express his and many others hikers' support to keep open the Stanford Avenue main entrance. Mr. Jim Keller asked that the Stanford staging area remain open, citing the health order that parks are essential. He states that garbage and restrooms should be addressed and that porta potties should be contracted for if needed. He also asked that the park district build the parking lot that was promised 5 years ago. Wei Ting Lee asks that the Stanford staging area be closed until the shelter in place is lifted. With the overwhelming visitation in the warmer months, it will not be possible to maintain social distancing. Be closed for the safety of everyone in the Bay Area. Karen Ichikawa asks that the Stanford staging entrance be closed until the health orders are lifted. States there are too many visitors and they are not practicing social distancing, and asks that we please continue to keep Stanford staging area closed to all. Dushyant Pota states that he's disappointed that at the last board meeting, the park district kept patting itself on the back for keeping parks open. Other parts of the world are staying home and not allowed to even walk in their neighborhoods, and East Bay Regional Park District is encouraging people to break the rules. He asks that the Stanford staging area be closed to stop the spread of COVID-19. Kathy Chang requests an immediate closure of Stanford staging area until the health orders are lifted. States that the temporary closures do not go far enough. She notes that this is one of the most crowded parks, but it's not included on the list of parks that were closed to prevent overcrowding. The park district needs to put public health and safety first. Above, and requests that Stanford staging area be closed for the duration of the health order. Wen Jin Kang and Fong Jim Wang sent similar comments requesting that the Stanford staging area be closed for the duration of the health order. Veronica Peng urges the closure of the Stanford staging area until the health orders are lifted. She states that exercise is important, but public health and lives should be given the highest priority. Janet Benz requests the immediate closure of Stanford staging area. She notes that other parks have been closed to reduce overcrowding and states that the park district is not applying a consistent standard. She says there are too many visitors traveling to the staging area and failing to comply with social distancing requirements. Hari Chupanputra made similar comments and requested the immediate closure of Stanford staging area. Tony Peng also demands that visitors are putting on the parks, and he cites to the trash and lack of bathrooms. He states that the park district must work with the city of Fremont instead of resisting their requests. He notes that the park will still be there when the pandemic ends. Jayshri Radia requests that the park district immediately close Stanford staging area entrance until the health orders are lifted. He says this discussion regarding closure is happening every week. He says, please do not open Mission Peak entrance. IVC that the gate to Mission concerned that Mission Peak Conservancy is handing out flyers encouraging more people to use the entrance. Ask that we help the residents living close to this entrance to stay safe and healthy. Sharok Sajadi requests that the Stanford staging area be closed. He notes the trash, large groups, and traveling long distance. He's extremely disappointed that the park district has failed to act quickly and decisively to protect public health and safety. And that's the last public comment.
Thank you very much, District Council. And I think that the clerk may have a comment she wants to make with regard to other letters received, emails received.
Yes, Madam President. I just wanted to let anyone that's listening or anyone that's listening and that has sent an email in that we did receive emails after the deadline, which was yesterday at 4 o'clock. All of and given to the board right after this board meeting, and they will read them. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Clerk, for making sure that we get all those public comments. Appreciate it very much. And so I would like to ask, we can ask for comments, but I would like to ask the general manager if he could give us his recommendation at this point. I know that you did just give it to us with all the associated details, but if you could just once again reiterate what you're recommending at this point so that we can then discuss.
Thank you very much. What I'm recommending is, as my authority under the general manager's list of authorities, including the emergency authority that the board's added to that for this time under COVID-19, that we temporarily close the staging area to both pedestrian and vehicle access like we did over Easter. And we do that through the 4th month. Provide cleaning of restrooms, start get ready to open it on that would be the Monday. And that's what I am recommending. It's a temporary order. It's not a permanent order. It is an order based on emergency orders for COVID and give us a chance and the staff a chance to get restroom service back in and clean up the park. We are disappointed that particularly on the trash issue, that people have not been doing what we asked repeatedly. That is our recommendation. We do not recommend that it should be closed longer than that. We believe this is an important park for the public. We also believe that the district has been complying with the health order and that the risk to the public is not there if they follow the protocols that we have put in place. That is the recommendation as a temporary action at this time.
So does anybody have any objection, comments, or questions? To temporarily close the entrance at Stanford Avenue through May the 4th? Because this will not require a vote, Mr. General Manager, is that correct?
Or change regular, if we weren't in the COVID-19 period. Again, I have said that I'm very confident that that will be extended. There may be changes in the direction and recommendations. And again, these are recommendations from the health departments. It is our responsibility to implement them as this board of directors and our management sees fit within those orders. It is not a ironclad, you have to do this. These are recommendations from the health on the shelter in place. We're still asking people to stay home on crowded weekends and help us pick up litter and all the things we put out throughout the media and TV and radio. But we're not recommending that this park stay closed if we are cleaning the restrooms and picking up the litter and doing our normal routine service.
Thank you very much, Mr. General Manager. Director Wieskamp?
I totally agree with the action of the general manager. I think it is a sanitation issue at this stage. And so I appreciate what you and all the staff are doing to get it cleaned up, to get the bathrooms operating in a safe manner for all our employees, and to keep emphasizing everywhere that people have to be responsible. We all social distancing, whether it's picking up garbage, that you wouldn't do that in your own yard, and taking care of the leftovers from the dogs that we choose to bring. So thank you very much for coming up with this, and I think it will be helpful.
Thank you, Director Wieskamp. Director Coffey?
So that I'm clear, the intent is to reopen the park on regard
May 5th.
May.
Specific to additional regulations, if it's similar to what we have now, which allows us to make the decision on what parks are open and what parks are closed, as long as we are encouraging social distancing. The obvious change, as an example, will be encouraging and putting signage in place for masks, for cloth masks. So that will be a new requirement. That does not close the park. It does not affect how we use the park, but it will be a requirement that people on trails use a mask.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members, directors? Director Waspy?
Thank you. So did I hear we will, if on May 5th, we do allow people to come back?
What I mean is that, let me clarify that. Thank you, Director Waspy, is that I believe the health order will encourage, I don't know their language yet, but masks will be something that should be done, and it's an individual responsibility, but it will be recommended, if not stronger than that. But masks will be recommended to be worn when you're in proximity outdoors on a trail to other people.
All right, thank you. And if I may continue, I support this also sort of reluctantly. I feel that the longer that staging area stays closed, the folks that want to continue to keep it closed will continue to want to all the right reasons. I think parks are essential. I think getting people out, and especially Mission Peak, because it's a spiritual mountain. I'm a little puzzled. I'll go along with it, but once again, I'm a little puzzled on why it would take 2 weeks or 13, or it is a full 2 weeks to essentially clean up one restroom. And I mean, do we have portables there? And if we have portable restrooms there, that would be better because they would be serviced by they're not our chemical toilet. But if we do have chemical toilets that we rent from somebody, why don't we have them service them? I think it would be worth it. I'd like to see it open earlier. I'll support the general manager, but I'd surely wish we could at least try. 2 weeks seems to me like, well, plenty of time to get restrooms open and pick up some litter.
And Director Wasby, if I may just briefly, the issue is this is what we had to do, and we're trying to do other restrooms and other garbage pickup across the district, and we are still understaffed. So that's the complication. Yes, you definitely could have restrooms in that park cleaned up if that was the only priority we have. The problem is we have dozens of priorities on COVID-19 access and cleanup now.
Anyone else? Yes, Director Rosario?
Yeah. The only reason I'm agreeing to it is because it is temporary, and it will give us an opportunity to build up our supplies and outfit and train our employees. I would like to think about those 2 trash cans at the staging area, just replacing them with a dumpster, a 2-yard dumpster that has a lid on it. That would remove the necessity of our employees having to pick that up. That would be picked up by either Waste Management or whatever company does our waste management pickup there. That would eliminate an exposure, and then we could just concentrate on the restrooms. But yeah, I am adamant that our people would be safe, and they have the equipment, and I'm amenable to having it closed for temporarily closed until May 4th.
Mr. Jim, did you want to comment on has anybody looked into the issue of a dumpster?
Yes, we have. The issue with parks in general with dumpsters can be locked and still access the garbage, putting garbage in. We get a lot of people filling up our dumpsters with their own garbage. Happens all the time in parks, happens with homeless, happens with just people in neighborhoods decide to dump their sofa or their old piece of furniture in there. And that has happened repeatedly in our urban parks. So that's one of the concerns.
Thank you very much. Anybody else want to weigh in on this? Okay, my comments would just be I will support the GM exercising his authority. The one thing I would like to ask is that obviously we don't have a crystal ball. I wish we did, but when we make our decision to reopen, since that's a few weeks in the future, that we also, of course, consider any other information that may come to us with regard to health orders, whether we have the PPE in stock needed, and any other types of issues that may impact the opening of the park. Just that we consider that as we move forward, which I'm sure we will, as a matter of course.
Yes, we'll bring that back to the board.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, anyone else? All right, directors, this does not require an action because the GM is using his own authority to close the Stanford entrance from now through May 4th. And I don't know if you'd like to make any further comments, Mr. GM, before we leave.
I think I appreciate the board's comments. We will keep you apprised of any changes, particularly with the expected health orders that may be extended, whether there's any impact. And we, of course, district-wide will be keeping the board and the staff very informed on being able to provide the necessary equipment to do their job safely, and safety equipment in particular. And I'm sure we can look at we will be looking at other options on restrooms as well, because we know there will be some areas that need restrooms. Another part of the park and may not have a restroom. So we're looking at all the options, but that's our goal, is to get restroom service and get our parks beautiful again, so people aren't littering in the parks.
Thank you very much, Mr. GM. So our next item, Mr. GM, do you have any remarks with regard to actions taken by other jurisdictions?
No, there are no actions by other jurisdictions, and there is no staff report. We hope to start the staff report presentations for the board when we get live video for the meetings to be able to help with that. And we're working on that diligently, so the public can engage in their public comments, and we have a plan for that as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. GM. I know that we appreciate that, and we're hoping soon work in putting that technology together for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So, and no presentation either. So announcement, any announcements from closed session? District Council? See her.
There are no announcements from closed session.
Thank you very much. Director Lane.
I just wanted to say that I was pleased to see the greenhouse had arrived at Dry Creek.
Yes.
Looking forward to seeing that in place.
I'll second that. I was quite excited to hear about that too. Now it just needs to be assembled. I think we're all excited about that. All right. Thank you. All right. So, board committee reports. We had an executive committee on March 5th, 2020. That seems like years ago. And I don't think there's anything else to add to that, except for sort of and all of the other support staff and secretaries to divisions and departments who are now and I know that takes a ton of work, and again, new challenges and new ways of doing things, but we very much appreciate being able to, policy make at the committee level. Thank you very much, AGM Ocker. I see you there. All right. Public comments. Who would like to start? Oh, wait, what am I saying? Public comments. We have already had our public comments.
Yeah, we've already had them.
But
yes.
I will ask, Madam Clerk, are there any public comments?
No, Madam President.
Okie dokie. Then we'll go to board comments, which I was referring to. Who would like to start board comments? Anybody? Okay, I'll start. How's that? So the first thing I would say is, again, I just want to say thank you so much for working towards having our live public comments to everybody involved. And in addition to that, the same crew that's very involved in that, our clerk, Yolanda Burial Knight, and her great team members, Sharon Clay, Harold Lamato, and all the other angels over there in IS. I just want to thank you all for your amazing support and allowing us to continue our meetings remotely, to follow orders and keep people safe. We appreciate all that extra effort that you have put in. And as far as meetings, I continue to attend the EOC meetings, which are held Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And the other meeting I would report, I've already mentioned, so just very briefly, had a great opportunity to speak to Assemblymember Bonta, who was very, very interested and empathetic about many of the challenges facing us here at the Park District, and will be a strong advocate for us for assistance. He asked lots of questions about how things are going, and he also will be sharing some of our public messages and pushing those out through his social media challenges too. So we want to thank him and his staff for also being a support to us during this challenging time. And that's all I have. So who would like to go next?
Thank you. I've been to several Zoom meetings as we are progressing, and wanted to say that I had gone to Las Trampas on Sunday. We are having which has been shared with the world, and has meant that we have had a tremendous number of cars at Las Trampas. So I wanted to thank staff for opening the overflow lot, and say that I feel a little like we've been mission peaked there at Las Trampas, because everyone was sending photographs of themselves in front of the poppy fields to 200 of their favorite friends. So indeed, it's very beautiful, and our parks are. I did have a chance to participate in the Concord Mayor's Town Hall on Saturday to provide some information about parks and our closures, and say a few words on behalf of tomorrow. And then I looked at my calendar, and I do want to say I want to do a little bit of a mourning, because this week, initially we had a Bay Point dedication, and we had a Bay Trail opening for Berkeley Albany, and so I'm looking forward to those things happening in the future. In public comments, I would hope that because this is going to be going on for a long time, the virus is not going to be gone in a couple of months. I would hope that when the operations committee meets, that they do have some conversations about the possibility of one-way two-hour periods where people are able to take a walk without having horses or vehicles or runners. I think that was an intriguing suggestion, and it's the kind of thing that I'd like to have operations discuss. And then again, I would like to hear from our health department doctor in one of our Zoom sessions, not only hear what they're to them. Since some of one type of their decision is affecting us a great deal, I think it would be helpful for the board members to have that chance to ask questions of one of the doctors with the health department. So I would like to see that happen.
Dr. Waspy?
Oh boy, thank you. I too have been on Lake Chabot. I hike in this Sunday. I took a hike up on Pleasanton Ridge, and my observations is it's really a shame that a lot of folks aren't doing what we expected them to do, and what we expect civilized folks to do, and not litter and not get too close together, but my observations are that, these are specific areas, parking lots, things like that. Once you get onto a trail, you have every opportunity to social distance. And most people are doing that. I find that most people are very courteous. They're much more friendly than they used to be in the old days. And people are greeting each other and being very courteous of getting out of each other's eh, would if there's a chance, or if this anticipated continuance of the shelter in place does occur, and the restrictions of public meetings continue, this meeting, I have nothing but praise for as Yolanda and her staff and the IS people that are ushering us through this. But if there's some way we can make that public comment period, which is just so vital to democracy, um, happen, and I have no technological background to figure it out, but if there's some way we can Zoom public comments, I don't know how it would work. I have no idea, but I think the idea is a good one. And I think if we're going to continue this for a long time, we should really try to find a way to include the public as we always want to. And on a special note, the California Association of California Association of Recreation and Park Districts, every year they have, in anticipation of their conference, they award awards of distinction. And I'd like to announce a couple of the winners right now. The outstanding new facility is the Southgate Park and Recreation Department's Pat O'Brien Community Center and Aquatic Center. So that's not the regional park district, but our dear pal Pat. His facility that was named after him won that award. Under outstanding community outreach, the East Bay Regional Park District team won for outstanding community outreach. And it was our folks, their whole community outreach efforts throughout or during our 85th anniversary. And as we all know, that was just a tremendous work by not only our public relations staff, but everybody seemed to participate that. And it was tremendous public outreach. Under the Outstanding Community Organization, we also won. The Regional Parks Foundation won that award. And probably the most proud of, the most happy. And so congratulations, or did I say Pat O'Brien? Outstanding General Manager for 2019 was Robert Doyle. And congratulations, Robert. And on a sad note, we probably won't be having a conference this year, so we might webinar or something that'll be less than adequate in my opinion, but congratulations to all the winners.
Thank you, Dennis, for all that great news. Director Wieskamp?
Yes, I wanted to mention public affairs already, so I'll follow up. So many people talk to me about the outreach that our public affairs has done, especially before Easter. They had a very short time to do it. And it was like you couldn't escape hearing about what we were doing, what we wanted people to do, what we encouraged them to do. And it may not have reached all of their ears totally, but I think they did an outstanding job. I was surprised at the places I saw what we were doing and why we were doing it. I would also like to thank all of our employees. We do it every week that we meet. Outstanding job. And I think a lot of people are doing their best to be in compliance. I hope we'll encourage people to use those masks. And maybe we can see if there's some volunteer program. I know there are people around here who have been making them. Some do. But I think there ought to be a way that we can get them available for a lot of people who don't have them. So if somebody's got an imaginative way of doing it, I'd certainly be willing to put some money in to make it happen. I think we want to encourage it. So there's nothing like putting money where your mouth is. So I'll donate $50 toward whatever it takes, fabric, elastic, whatever. And the last thing is, I never thought I would hear Beverly use the word of our language. So thank you very, very much. That's it.
Thank you, Director Wieskamp. Director Rosario?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to second Beverly Lane's idea of considering any options to make it easier for people to social distance on our trails, especially single track, promote one way, promote single file, and especially I think one population that's been left out, especially when we do our closures of parking lots, is people with ADA considerations. They're locked out. They can't get to our parks. So if we do any future closures, we should take so that they can too enjoy the benefits of being outside. And I second Director Waspy's comments about public comments. I just learned that I always assumed that our public comments were posted on along with our minutes, and I just found out they're not. I don't know why they're not, but maybe it's a public privacy thing. I don't know, but the ability for people to make public comments live is very, very important. And I was glad to hear that there's a possibility we may be going on closed caption TV possibly, and then with the possibility of Zooming comments. So I'm hoping this crisis will get us in that direction. Also, I've attended the COVID task force and very encouraged by the discussions there. And I'm hoping that, crises like these tend to point out weaknesses in any structure. And for us, I think it's been communication. And I think there's great opportunity here to rethink a lot of things from how we do regular business. And I think when you include people from the bottom all the way to the top in these, when you're having discussions, it makes us better as an organization. It makes us better in how we treat each other and how we value our employees and the public. I think this crisis will make us stronger. Unfortunately, it's not going to end, as Director Lane has stated. This is a long journey that we're faced with, and I'm hoping that we can make the best of it. And my thinking about operations, I was thinking about possibility that now with social distancing being a part of our vernacular and part of our lifestyle, we may no longer we should be looking at more social trails. And then I look forward to the meeting with the task force. I think we have one tomorrow and then 29th, and then looking forward to being on the finance committee. I'm actually kind of dreading that one on the 29th. So, and also I'd like to offer to close in honor of two people today, and I'll make that a former employee, Chris Garrett.
Thank you very much, Director Rosario, and we will come back to that at the end, and I also have an adjournment as well. So thank you very much. Director Coffey. Oops, sorry about that.
About to take a sip. I, having no meetings to go to, continue to try to do rounds about Ward 7 and visit parks and speak to as many of the staff out in the parks as I can on how they're doing, if they're feeling safe, and how is our public doing. Saturday, my wife and I hiked out at Waterberg, and there were very few people out there. It's a beautiful park, beautiful views. And lo and behold, we run into maybe a handful of people as we crossed that park. Sunday, I spent some time with Director Lane. Lots and lots of people and problems with both parking and the major problem we're having when parks are very busy, and that is, as I've observed, the pinch points. I think the general manager refers to them as pinch points, and they are the parks at which you have a major trailhead where there is a gate and people have to stop and open the gate and get through. It tends to be a narrow spot because of the gate, and it's pinching people toward each other if there's a large volume of people. And you know what? Our rangers, our people, our parks are doing all sorts of neat and innovative things on the fly to deal with these issues. At Black Diamond, they're trying to figure out how to move the cows around and get the cows away so that they can open the main gates so that people aren't it eliminates a pinch point just by doing that. I thought that was a great idea and again, very innovative. And our park supervisor out at Las Trampas Sunday was just keeping an eye on the cows and opening the gate himself for a while. And managing to talk to Director Lane and I at the same time. So our people are doing really wonderful things. And speaking of wonderful things, I think the messaging, I'll echo what my colleagues have said, that the messaging McConnell on TV again this morning, it's doing wonders. Director Waspy's a bit upset, as am I, when I witness bad behavior, but I have noticed people behaving better, and it's because I am assuming that they're seeing the messaging, they're learning, and they're not touching the gate with bare hands as much as they used to. They're distancing for sure once they get through the gates and up onto the trails. They're trying to be courteous in terms of passing one another on narrow trails. That messaging is working, it's getting out there, and things are going well, very well when the parks aren't overcrowded. So, you know, it's that one situation that we have. So I wanted to keep it up and thank all of those that are out there in park operations, keeping things going and keeping things safe for our people. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Coffey. Ditto. Director Eccles?
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to start by thanking the staff for their ongoing hard work in adapting and evolving and working to address this very difficult situation. And I also want to thank the public for their understanding and cooperation, and really give a shout out to all those folks out there, the vast majority who are social distancing, who are picking up after themselves and their dogs, and who are doing the right thing, and really hope that other folks will come along with that and you know, the parks open, because it is an essential resource and folks need it. You know, unfortunately, the COVID-19 looks like it will be around for a while, so that will require us to continue to adapt and evolve and look closely at these various policies, both as new information about how the virus may be transmitted and other things about the virus. The more we learn, the better. But at the same time, as other board members and staff have suggested, different ways of adapting our park usage policies so that we are doing our very best to keep parks open and keep people safe at the same time. Because I really, I have these flashes of the beaches in Florida, and I just want to make sure that we don't ever get to the point where we're so crowded that we're not able to allow people to do responsible social distancing, because that's just critical to containing this disease. Of course, just in terms of the other things I've been up to, obviously attended the sport meeting last Thursday committee, and continue to communicate with constituents and other stakeholders, primarily online, but also by phone and other means. I think it's absolutely critical, as other board members have also said, and the GM also mentioned, to have a true ability for folks to make public comments during the meeting, and so I'm encouraged by we will soon have that ability. So thank everybody who's working on that, and working to make these virtual meetings happen and be effective. So thanks everybody. Stay safe.
Thank you very much, Director Eccles. And I would just like to add one last thing besides, well, two last things. My, ultimate support for getting our public comments live. So thank you everybody on that one. And also, being that ironically, this is the 30th year, July 26th is the 30th anniversary of the signing of the ADA, and reflecting on Director Rosario's comments, I'm also hopeful that maybe there is some way we can make sure our parks are still accessible to those with disabilities. The closing of the parking lots obviously has had a huge impact on that. So if there's something we can think out of the box, create to celebration in July, that maybe we can figure out some way still to do that in some way, that would be nice. So we do have some adjournments today, and I would like to ask Director Rosario to go ahead and speak about two of our beloved friends and former employee, Joe Engbeck and Chris Garrett. Director Rosario.
Yeah, thank you. Met Joe Engbeck as a member of the Regional Parks Association. And even though he was going through his late stages of Parkinson's disease, he was incredibly sharp, and his contribution to that committee and to his love of getting people into open spaces was never stronger. But one of the things he was 87 years old. And he was, he organized the open space committee later called, which merged into the Greenbelt Alliance. He shares that along with our esteemed colleague, John Sutter. And at the same time, he joined the Citizens Task Force for the East Bay Regional Park District's 20-year expansion plan, and contributed a comprehensive master plan to that effort. He also co-founded the Friends of Claremont Canyon and led the campaign to preserve the 500 acres, which is now our Claremont Canyon Preserve. He was honored by the California State Park Rangers Association with an honorary ranger for 2017. And they citing his influence on preserving our natural and cultural heritage and of connecting people with those resources. Such imperatives guided his lifetime work. And he was a prolific writer. And two of his biggest contributions was his book, The Enduring Giants, the epic story of the giant sequoia and the big trees of Calaveras. And he wrote that for the Save the. He also completed the movement to rescue a wonder of the natural world. And for the California State Parks, he compiled the history of the state parks of California. And his love of his parks, his love of just remembering the legacy that was left before us and promoting open space for the future, that was his love. And we owe him an incredible gratitude, at least I do. Sad time. And a second person I'd like to honor is Chris Garrett, recent retiree, was a park crest specialist at Wildcat Canyon. He was also what we then called an industrial fire. As a firefighter, he was one of those guys who was always there. You could always depend on him. No matter where it was, Chris was always there, someone you could depend on. And on top of that, he was an incredible craftsman. His work at Wildcat Canyon, restoring the stone obelisk and the ironwork there, all that there is his work. And I stand in awe of his talent and his dedication to the Park District, and I'm sad to see him pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Rosario. I would also like to adjourn in the memory of Dr. Marshall Mitzman. I think several of you knew Dr. Mitzman. Dr. Mitzman was serving as a member of the Board of Trustees of Chabot Las Positas Community College. He was well known in the Hayward area and beyond for his, for so many things, for his kindness, for his generosity, for his very interesting sense of humor. The cornier the jokes, the better. He was the king of dad jokes. He never had a mean thing to say that I ever heard. In fact, he spent a lot of his time always trying to cheer people up and support them during difficult times. He was very, very good about that. He had a huge heart. He also had a very interesting affinity for Mickey Mouse. Anything Mickey Mouse, he collected, and you would see it all over his office. His legacy, I would say, that I would like to mention is such a strong supporter of students, especially students who may have to overcome certain challenges to be able to get their higher education. Huge supporter of students and making sure they had what they needed to succeed. So it is a big loss to lose Marshall as well. And I would like the board to join myself and Dee in adjourning in the memory of three very fine people. Thank you all very much, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.